read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Think about it. I pity the fool.
The shape charge indicates that they are technically proficient.
Wow, this has been the most important week of cryptocurrency from now until the end of the year. We just had the FOMC meeting and the election results came in. Now, we don't do any political content on here. No matter who won the election, our portfolio was going to be rebalanced depending on who the winner was. In the scenario where Kamala took the victory, undoubtedly we would have shifted heavily into GameFi for those maximum gains this late in the rate cut cycle. Now, we're not going to be covering the details of what Satoshi secret is. This is a conversation for the adults in the room. Just to get everybody up to speed on what's going on with this FOMC meeting. And what we're going to be looking at in particular is as the Fed was coming out, and this is the notice. These are the transcripts. We have these in VIP dating all the way back to 2019 during the last rate cut cycle. One of the key pieces of takeaway here is they're conducting a standing overnight repurchase agreement. And this is kind of just putting a whole spin on Satoshi secret itself. Looking back to that key date, February 20th of 2020, initiating the entire prior cycle top. Look at what the FOMC was doing. This is just another way to look at that Satoshi secret chart. Typically, we look at the rates, which is what the FOMC did today. They hacked it down 25 points, but here on February 20th, they hacked it down a full 1.5 points. A year later, of course, Bitcoin, Tesla, everything erupts. And what we're seeing here is actually the Fed. They're the ones that are buying the bonds back from Jane Street, BlackRock, all of these VC market makers, the investment banking class, because that's what we focus on this channel, is almost a copy trading of the investment bankers. And that's how we are, as we'll prove to everyone in a moment, the number one highest yielding, most gains of all VIP groups, of all YouTube channels. We put all of our members right in front of not just winners, the absolute biggest winners, hands down.
Exciting now.
A lot of other groups will focus on, let's say, copy trading Alex Becker. And for any of you guys who watch Alex Becker, of course, he makes crypto content videos that are extremely entertaining. This last one that he just pumped out 2 days ago called, "Hey, stupid, Bitcoin, it's a trap." And then he goes into all these details. He covers a lot of amazing fundamental insight. Of course, Satoshi's secret is completely eluding him, as it is many crypto investors. Looking at that date, February 20th, this is the 1-year treasury. And on that previous stacked portfolio, actually, we have another page on that right here. We can see the 1-year treasuries is one of their biggest holdings right there. It's $1.2 trillion. And they're buying and selling these. Here's the kick. This is the 1 year. So February 20th, look at what happens, not just on Bitcoin. That's February 20th right there. On the total 3, obviously these are time delayed, so we get a massive run up, but then there's an extended top, and this has to do with buying and particularly selling. Notice how we've been crushing everybody with the buying. Wait until it comes to selling. That's when we're gonna twist the knife that we've already stuck in. There's so many content creators that are running in fear they won't even upload Caspa content anymore because we have taken them to school. This is Tesla, just proving that it has nothing to do with the Bitcoin halving and how powerful this Satoshi secret is. It works across markets. It's genius. This is February 10th. That's Tesla. You know, Elon Musk. And in fact, Elon Musk is going to come into this discussion. As you guys who may have obviously been following the US election saw that Elon Musk was campaigning very hard for the current president or the up-and-coming president of the United States. And because of this, we can put a slight spin on our bag, as we'll detail in a minute. Twitter set up to become the Chinese WeChat. Speaking of China, we'll also cover the Chinese stimulation package, which is going to be ginormous and about to get released. So Tesla peaked at the exact same time that Bitcoin did. So did GameStop. Everybody's probably seen the movie. That's 10 days. This is an add-on for my personal GameStop. Adding on 10 days on January 13th, right here, right before this massive rocket ship. And of course, from hooking up with Roaring Kitty, getting inside his VIP group, this guy went to college for economics. So he was able to explain in detail Satoshi's secret, how it applies to the stock market, because this rabbit hole goes so much deeper. It's got Tesla and Bitcoin peaking at the exact same time, and we've been using it to just load the bag on so many gems, particularly what has been the biggest #1 runner everybody's been looking at, Moonwell. It's in the top 10 for all cryptocurrencies across the board. Check this out. We were actually eyeballing Moonwell way back in June. We had it on a watch list, which we've got some other massive rocket ships on. So we were looking at this way back here. It got on VIP radar. You know what else did? And there's only 8 projects on this particular watch list that we put together. The other one just rocketed to the upside massively. Now, we had mentioned this in passing as a strong DeFi play, but no, we did not actually put a buy alert on this besides mentioning it in our total 3 discussions as a strong DeFi play. Look at this, though. This is 1 of 8 on our June watch list. Why'd we put the watch list together? To take advantage of this rate cut cycle. This is what caused the cryptocurrencies to go crazy during the last 30 to 45 days. Looking at the total 3 chart, the reason why it had so much downside is because Powell is delaying these rate cuts. He was supposed to do it faster, but they were delaying. And this has thrown financial markets askew. Massive sell-off. And also, and this is part of what today's video is going to detail, regulation. Not only did we have this delayed central bank, but we've also got the SEC attacking Binance right here. We're going to get into these gem huntings in a specific, and I want you to keep that ticker in mind. Take profit and put it into USDT. I mean, there's nothing wrong with cash, too. Cash is king. If you can swap right into USD, all the better. And we'll go into ALF because this is something that brings the 24-point checklist out. But let's not get distracted. Let's stay on point here. So the FOMC just had their rate cut. And they're talking about buying back these bonds as they're scooping these up. See what happened last time right here on February. They started buying bonds back super fast. What that does is it gives BlackRock, Jane Street, and all the investment bankers that we copy trade loads of cash. And then they go and turn into risk on assets to invent that as a shelter from inflation and to see maximum gains. So as the rate cut cycle finally kicks off, it's like the FOMC is now initiating. There will be a bull run. There will be a distribution phase. Not only is there a run up, and this is going to be happening this fall. And this bull run is going to be slightly delayed because Powell waited a long time to start cutting rates. And as we just showed you, and as we detailed in our Satoshi's secret videos, inside of, there's a playlist. There's 3 different versions of them. You can watch any of them or all of them and just soak some of this up. All of our trading plans are correlated with this. This is how we destroy everything. How we're the top performing, including when to scoop up and take profits. As soon as the Fed initiated the rate cut cycle, they're saying, yeah, there's going to be this distribution. And you guys who probably watched the FOMC, what was the biggest question that everybody kept asking, which is very pop culture orientated? They were saying,
I pity the fool.
I pity the fool who doesn't bring rates down to 0 because Trump is going to fire you. Like 3 or 4 reporters asked the exact same question over and over again, almost grilling Powell. And this guy is so important. We do posts covering all of these macroeconomic trends. They're so important to the trading. Every time you do a trading plan, you got to tie it into macroeconomics. Trump, with his finger on regulation, he cannot control the central banks and he can't fire Powell, but he can do regulation. And that is a huge piece of today's puzzle, regulation. So in this scenario, it was Kamala that would have won. We would have went into GameFi, particularly for everybody who is outside of the United States. You just missed the opportunity to get in our pre-sale. We have a 24-point report, okay? This is a 24-point gem certified. When we write these detailed reports, it means that we are extremely confident that this project is going to rock. You can see right here, correlating on-chain data, which traders so much overemphasize. This is on DEAI. It's been one of the absolute most leading swing trades out of the past FOMC. Right here is when they added on the MEXC listing, and then they added on the Gate.io. So we have a 24-point report on this. This was a leading swing trade. It's a certified gem. We've got the report on it. How about those graphics? Because of all of this upside, just from dollar cost averaging down here, this has become my second biggest bag, only to Caspa. Just rocketing to the upside. I mean, these are monstrous gains. Now, here's the clutch, and here's the key. So we have one of these on a GameFi project that isn't even listed yet, and this would have been where we went to should have Kamala Harris won. And we're going to go over the regulations that detail that out. We would have been going GameFi. We would have started backing off artificial intelligence just a smidge, and we would have leaned much harder into GameFi and DeFi. AI is a wild card factor. This can yield extraordinary gains, as we've seen from ChatGPT and etc. One of the reasons why this is looking good for regulation is the prior administration, they were trying to rein AI in. And of course, Elon Musk, while he's big on making sure AI is safe, he's one of the key players. And this is so crucial in the stock market. NVIDIA, Tesla, Microsoft, Apple, the top 7, like the backbone of the stock market, the biggest companies, they're all deeply entrenched in artificial intelligence, including Facebook. This is just showing what a powerful narrative it is. Executive Order 13859. This is something that President Trump put in place to make sure that America is the absolute leader in artificial intelligence. He wants to make sure that we're not over-regulating, that the boys inside Silicon Valley, the PayPal mafia, as you know, JD Vance, he worked under Peter Thiel as a VC for a venture capitalist company called Merrill. So all of these startups, JD Vance has one-on-one contact with. This means projects like our 24-point certified gem Spectral, which was our BOJ carry trade scoop up, not at $5, which is where people would have thought in their mind to set it. Never do round numbers. As we're seeing, there's so many projects stuck at the number 10 right now, but this is another rabbit hole. I personally fill the bag of this down at 483. This is very similar use case to DEAI. One of them, Spectral, is centered in the United States. This is step 15 of the 24-point checklist, know your global focus. And this can play a huge hand in identifying gems, like when the Bank of Japan carry trade went down. This project, a GameFi project, which we put on the thumbnail, once we realized it was targeted in Japan, we started planning to buy. None of our buy alerts happen like same day. We're always anticipating in advance. We're going to start buying this one later. We'll put it on the radar, or we'll start scheming up a pullback incoming. 18 hours after we started planning to buy this, it drops down to 50 cents. Everybody in the comments below are like, now? We're like, oh yeah. So we buy it. Couple weeks later, it's beefing up to 70. We go ahead and we do an add-on, and then we start taking profit here, turns around, comes back. And this is all because of step 15, realizing this is in Japan. So with the Bank of Japan carry trade, boom, something good. Maple, connected to the United States. Boom, seeing massive upside, institutional investment in the United States. Oh, yeah, that's right. He was really, and that's also a very pop culture question, right? Because Trump's always running around firing people. And so therefore, these guys are very serious. They're very studious. They don't want to become part of the meme culture. They don't really want anything to do with that. So they're trying to back off. So let's talk some more about the FOMC and the data that Powell just released. In our other screen, we actually have cliff notes of everything that they said. So they're talking about how they're buying back cash, and they're also talking about wage growth. So here's the clutch. This is what Powell and the FOMC is all about. They're not working with the United States government. This is the central bank we're talking about. This is the they in all of these sentences. Satoshi, with his genius, knows all of their patterns, known as the global liquidity cycle, and he wedged Bitcoin in to do its halving every 4 years. It just so happens that the FOMC will cut rates every 4 years. Now, here's their secret, and this is their plan looking forward. Wage has a huge thing to do with jobs, because in the scenario that jobs start to take a down track, this bull market will go uber to the upside, because the FOMC will have to stimulate the economy more by buying back more of those bonds. This is this ramp up showing right here before the last cycle. The FOMC starts buying back all of these bonds. And then when they have it all, the party's over. And then they start to release it back in. And now they're starting the whole new cycle again. So as they're buying more and more back, this is putting liquid capital on the street for expansion. And this works in tandem with interest rates because now these companies can borrow and continue to grow and build in their space. This is huge for GameFi. One of the reasons why we buy GameFi last inside our VIP group is because GameFi, in order to expand and grow, market, they need to be able to borrow cash. Part of the reason of what's going on with Caspa right now with the massive downside that we are the only VIP that projected this rip down here. This was made in early September. We could see the 12.25 coming massively in advance with such accurate charting known as the origin trendline X and Y axis system. We are actually able to call it would bounce directly off X axis. How do we do this? With the repeating trendline system. Crypto, totally different than the stock market because of the emission schedules and the strict halving. This creates waves, repeating trend lines right on the chart. And once you become insightful to them, you're now able to make uncannily accurate predictions like this. Members of the group were actually loading up and we planned short sales right on September 16th, right as the KRC20 launch was going on. And this is known as a delta neutral play. We have huge bags of Caspa, but in order to sell and then buy back lower, that's for the birds because you have to pay, of course, taxes on those profits. Instead, you do delta neutral, protecting your overall assets. You don't have to sell your bag. You don't have to move all that around. You just open up a high leverage short position and now you're covered. You're protecting yourself. This is what professional traders do. They don't buy and sell their number one hodl bag. And of course, inside VIP, we projected that the 10-cent mark was going to be a stopping point for Moonwell. After we put together all these buys down here, ultimately, everybody was scooping in here and here. Although it was on radar back here, we were able to say, yeah, 10's a stopping point. This is something that you do with day trading. You look for ones that gapped up, ones that gapped down, earnings reports, and then you look for round numbers because human psychology is overriding rational thought here with Moonwell. People are like, well, I'm not paying more than 10. And we're seeing this in Caspa as well to a certain extent. As Caspa hovering around the 10-cent mark, just drawing it in like a magnet. Back to the FOMC. Trump is up there, and the reason that they were talking about firing Trump so much is because Trump wants to get the interest rates down to zero, which for us is going to be amazing. This will cause the most rocketing, the most upside that we can possibly imagine. The lower those interest rates go, the better it is for our bags, no matter what we have. And this is where all of the rumors that Trump wants to fire is going on. But they don't need to fire him because what they can do instead is just change the regulation and make sure that the United States is ready to rock and roll. Now, China's doing a massive stimulus right now. And this is something else that we cover in VIP, particularly after the Bank of Japan carry trade. You guys remember this massive wick down on all of crypto? We were able to hone in on that using technical analysis, which is so often undervalued. And the reason is because when people use technical analysis normally, what they're doing is they're doing naked TA. They're just saying, well, I'm seeing this shape and pattern on the chart, therefore I'm making this projections. We never do naked TA. In fact, we're against that. What you have to do every single time you find a pattern, whether it's a broadening wedge or a cup and handle, this is showing psychology. It's not geometry. It's the way the traders are performing. So we had a stop loss for all of our 10x leverage trades that we got at like 12 and 13 cents during the last FOMC. This is how important FOMC meetings are just on CASPA. Looking at these, FOMC meeting. This one right here, we called out a 10x leverage trade on the main channel, advising everybody CASPA was about to explode to the upside. And then after this broke up, everybody in the comments was like, Jesse, you need to do a VIP. You got to give us more details, because in every video, we can't go over Satoshi's secrets and the origin trendline system over and over again. There's just so many rabbit holes to go down. Having a VIP just really puts it all at your fingertips. Plus, you get these sick, like #1 best swing trades like this one. So we start building the VIP and we release it during this FOMC meeting. It rockets. And of course, we've got the 24-point checklist system here, which later starts to get plagiarized by other creators around here. Of course, this is like playing that game telephone. By the time it gets from the original source through a couple of copying type traders or content creators, by the time it gets to the traders, it's completely a different message and a lot of the initial value is lost. Highlighting again, our group was the first to go in on Moonwell. We were the first one to watch it and we got the lower price. So we've been watching these other economies, and so will the FOMC. They're not going to make decisions just because Japan's in trouble, but they want to make sure that their economies are up and rocking so they continue to buy from the United States, continue to stimulate our economy. So China has a massive stimulus package that's about to start rocking to the upside, which is super good news. And that's the name of the game here, Trish. Right now, the FOMC, one of the key takeaways from this last meeting that just took place this afternoon is the FOMC feels hands down that they have control of inflation. They've got it at 2% and lower, and it's comfortable. And what their goal is, Trish, is they want to have something that's completely neutral. They're not here to make sure that the stock market rips to the upside like President Trump is trying to get them to do. And they're not here to make sure that the dollar is rock solid concrete. What they have to do is create a neutral stance. And as they're buying back these assets and selling them, this is quantitative easing 101. And so ultimately what we're doing inside our VIP as we're linking all this information together is we're trading with an advanced knowledge of quantitative easing. Realizing that the FOMC is controlling the currency, hence cryptocurrency. And by focusing in on that, we can get more insight. You could actually hear inside of the meeting, they talked about bond auctions, which is another trick we've been doing inside VIP. Taking a look at here, August 26th, they had a massive bond auction. They had another one here, and then they had another one that was right here. And you always see these ramp ups and then sell-offs after. As the market is starting to peak, as the bull run is in full swing, having experience tracking these FOMC bond auctions can give us the insight to sell the tippity top. For everybody who's worried about, let's say you're scooping in Moonwell and you get it on a nice pullback here, right? Like, let's say, I don't know, Moonwell gets cut almost in half. It goes down to 6 cents. You scoop it up. or you're like, I didn't really buy so-and-so on the bottom. It doesn't matter as long as you sell the top. And in fact, the majority of mistakes that traders make will be because they did not sell the top. And this insight that we're hooking up right here, this is going to change your bull market hands down. Watch the Satoshi Secret playlist. We've got one that's honed in on the GameStop phenomenon, which is where this had first started to become part of my personal trading history, having a decade of experience in risk on assets. It's a zero-sum game. So we've got to remember that all these gains that we're making, this is because other people are losing. So this is a very competitive field, which is another reason why we don't go around glad-handing all these other content creators. One of the biggest mistakes that the Caspa community made, 400 days ago, they started pig piling into GameFi projects, Lit Labs, GFAL. And knowing the quantitative easing aspect of this, knowing Satoshi's secret, we realized that this just doesn't make sense. As these GameFi projects will break to the upside last, they also pack on market cap last. What makes a lot more sense 400 days ago was to focus in on your layer ones. Why would you buy Lit Labs when you could get Solana at 30? Instead, you got rug pulled. And a lot of these could be captured with the 24-point checklist, which we'll get into in a second. I can see you guys are pretty eager to do some gem hunting. So just wrapping up the FOMC. Hopefully we will get some jobs data that requires the economy to be stimulated. And keep in mind, like Boeing, McDonald's, these are enormous employers. So all it takes is one pin drop, one mistake, and now we're going to get that data that the FOMC needs in order to stimulate the economy. And in my opinion, they're already gearing up to stimulate it anyway. They're just playing it cool. They can't just go out there and be like, congratulations, guys. We are going to completely buy back all of the bonds and create this zero money environment that will cause everything to rip into the upside. They cannot say that. What they said instead was, and this is very important, they said they'll do at least one full point in 2025. Now, when they take that point off is going to be such a pivotal moment for us. What we want is them to do it instantly. The faster that they can take it off, for one, the easier it's going to be for us to locate the top, to time this whole thing. And the faster it'll go up. Honing in on the total 3, which this is all the altcoins combined together. There's a very peculiar level right here at 160 that the total 3 is having a hard time passing. So inside of our VIP, we've done a lot of historic research on rate cuts. And as you guys know, we've been projecting this second rate cut is actually going to be bearish. Although this seems counterintuitive, the 25 BPS is already priced in by the investment bankers. These are the guys that we copy trade. We're not copy trading Alex Becker here. While we're talking about copy trading Alex Becker, we got this new listing NIA a full day before he even found it. 24 hours later, he calls it out and puts it on Twitter, and then it absolutely rockets. And then we realize around here, we did deeper research into it using the 24-point checklist, that it was a garbage pick, and we dumped it and advised everyone not to buy anymore. But just showing Alex Becker can be easily beat, but he makes some excellent points here. For one, he's naive to Satoshi's secret. He never mentions FOMC or interest rates. He's trying to base it all on Bitcoin's market cap, which is limited. But as you can see from the Tesla, GameStop, all this February 20th dates with the FOMC, it's very much tied to it. And the point he makes is, if you want to actually get rich this bull market, what you got to do is become a mastermind, an expert in just 2 sectors. That's it. Don't try to diversify. Don't try to spread your cash around. Find the best sectors you can and go for them. And with that, obviously, some common sense. You want to have a strong layer 1 like a Bitcoin, Solana, or Caspa to help carry you through. And he suggests going for artificial intelligence and GameFi. Right in this video, he says flat out, focus on AI and DeFi. And our entire VIP group is focused on helping you become a master in artificial intelligence. How do we do that? This is a Destra. This happens to be the one Alex Becker 24-point redid. It's like 9 pages, not including links. With links, this is a whole evening's read. And this is for people who can focus in. We've got over half a dozen of these. 4 of them are in artificial intelligence and deepen. 2 of them aren't even on the exchanges yet, and 1 of them's about to hit. And it's going to be huge. It's the #1 best game that's going to be released this year. It's going to crush Heroes of Mavia. It is super epic and awesome. All of our overseas group members have already signed up, and they're going to be taking part of the pre-sale, which is going down as we speak or in the weeks to come. Even if you had this project's name, you still want to get to 24-point report because it's going to help you hone in, like we just went over on point 15. Understanding their global influence, who's investing in them, all kinds of things. It'll help you DCA building in and, of course, taking profit and just understanding what you got. So ultimately, Alex Becker does a massive advertisement for the Jesse AI VIP group. And as we proved with all of our callouts, the Moonwell, the DEAI, which is a 24-point gem, which means it's one of our strongest positions. We're the only people that knew to short Caspa, which is big. He's saying, yeah, run in and jump in. And this is one of our, from the watch list, Maple. Look at this. We put it on VIP radar right here. It was like 13 on radar. So that's a little high. I think it was like right here, 13. And it just boink. Massive rip. And here's something else as we jump into the questions. Oh, somebody just said Parcel Moon. Yes, well, let's take a look at Parcel. This actually got on VIP radar about a week ago. Yeah. We put it on VIP radar about a week ago, and it has some connections to the election results, because it's real estate. Obviously, Trump's bag is real estate with his hotels, etc. And this is another rabbit hole that you can go down and study for years. You can get a degree in college in connecting the FOMC data, the bonds, the interest rates. Obviously, when the interest rates are coming down, this is good for real estate. So yeah, we actually have a profitable trade on this right now. And it was on the radar here. So we put it on radar here, and it's forming this broadening wedge, which is part of our classic patterns directory. And then we have videos using the repeating trend lines, but we'll do some TA at the end. Yes, definitely. Hit the like button and hit subscribe. Okay, here we go. Now we're seeing some questions on gems, and this is great because a lot of times, I mean, as one individual guy combing through all of these search engines, and by the way, when you're looking for gems, you want to use this website right here, cryptorank.com. Why do you want to use that? It's very easy, because when you're clicking on these gems like Moonwell, look at this. Look at how much information is available at my fingertips as I zoom in. Coinbase Ventures, so I can see all the VC firms right here. I can also see the tokenomics at a click of a button. So normally when you're doing the token unlocks, you got to read through the white paper, and it's a big headache. Nobody really enjoys it because half the time the team is either trying to hide to you or they're trying to straight up lie to you. So this website puts it all right on your fingertips. And then we have a bunch of tools available too. We have like a whole list of all of the most helpful tools on the internet. So here's the Moonwell vesting. As the bull market starts to really rip, a lot like that goofy Alex Becker one, the reason why we picked this in the first place is because it had the perfect tokenomics. It had a very low TGE. That's the token generation event. This is another art form for swing traders who want to maybe take more action. They want to do, you know, like a 48-hour swing trade, leaning towards day trading, but not quite that much. As the market starts to shift at the end of this rate cut cycle in January, we'll be banging out these like every day double up type of new listing picks. And we've got the absolute rocketing gem too. But let me tell you about Alphium. There's immediately something funky going on here when you start talking about the tokenomics. This is not the right chart. As soon as you start talking about the tokenomics, what do they say? Oh, well, we've got an emission schedule that lasts 200 years. That's ridiculous. We realize that that is not going to do too well because this technology is going to become instantly outdated. Here's one of the massive red flags on Alphium, because once people started talking it up on this pump right around here, it was like Sepro, a member of the Caspa community, decided that this was going to become the next Caspa. He was saying this is going to absolutely rock it.
Good guess, but wrong.
When we use the 24-point system, we dig over details that we would otherwise completely forget. That's why if you're just combing and vetting projects off the top of your head, you got to start writing this down, because you need to check every detail thoroughly. Because what the teams are going to do is, as we know, the majority of cryptos don't have a real use case. I mean, they could do something, but the wide world of people is just not going to bite into that apple. A great example of this is Flux. At one time, when I first got into crypto, I myself thought that Flux was going to be the next great thing. And the reason is because they do a great job of convincing retail that they are having real use case, but it's actually extremely easy to prove that Flux has no real world use case. What's the big narrative on Flux? They're a decentralized cloud, and they're like, oh, well, we're going to help people store their photos and videos online. To utilize the Flux storage as a retail person, you have to go on to some goofy cloud hosting service, buy a node, and then you have to cut, copy, paste code. And then you can back up all your Christmas photos on the Flux. So, and they're making it sound like everybody's going to jump on this. It's not realistic. And another massive red flag, and this is akin to Alphium. They're saying every 200 years, or that's how long the emission's going to last. For Flux, they make this huge deal out of every time Flux goes on to another chain. So they're like Flux BNB, Flux AVAX, Flux Tron. Like this is the second coming, right? This is like the biggest thing ever. It's the next Ethereum. And they hype it up like that and they talk it up like that. And so as retail investors, we're like, yeah, I can see how that would be super bullish. But this is the thing. They ultimately all do that. They're all on multiple chains. Like looking at, let's just say Spectral, it's on Ethereum and Base. So there's two different versions of it. It's not a big deal, particularly with the low end of use. So they're just trying to talk up fine points and sell a meme coin of technology. That's the best way to look at these projects like Alphium. As we use the 24-point checklist on Alphium, you get to step 3, we go into the GitHub page. That's where all the team open source the code. They have their own coding language. It's not Rust. It's not Solidity. It's not Python. It's Ralphium. So no one went to college for it and no successful developers can come over onto it. Their other biggest kick, they're like, oh yeah, Alphium, super rocket ship because we have dApps, right? When you go in and actually look at the dApps, go in there, buy an NFT off there, stake some Alphium in their liquidity pool. Here's the problem. There's only $50 worth of action every month. And this is from about 90 days ago. It might have gone up since then, but on two different dApps, the NFT and the liquidity pool, which are their big deal, we're better than Caspa because we already have dApps that nobody in the entire world is using. And this is all sourcing back to step 3. So, and then you can go even deeper down this rabbit hole and start to talk about the double sharding technology, but that's going to be over a lot of layman's head. What this system does, and this is for on-chain stuff. This isn't for the FOMC and Satoshi's secret. That's a whole nother aspect. This makes sure that everybody, a real estate agent, a doctor, a plumber, we know enough about the technology to be able to trade it. We can study crypto all night and not have learned a single fact that's going to help us make money off of it. These are 24 points that have to do with money. Like the global focus. You see what we're getting at here? Boss Fighter's an epic project. So this is what we did for the group and how we found this massive hit that everybody in VIP knows that's not even on the exchanges yet. When this hits, it's going to be so epic. So what we did is we got, and I'll show you guys how to do this for yourself. And this is going to be and why we have so many advanced traders inside our community. And another reason why joining a community for anybody who's on the sidelines right now, I can tell you personally, has changed my trading experience. This is almost like a way that you're able to hang out in the coffee lounge of this $1 million tower on Las Vegas Boulevard. That's where we are. We're on the 40th story right now of Las Vegas Boulevard. I'd love to have the window open, but there's too much backlighting. We get to talk with guys who did the ASICs for the original Bitcoin, guys who speak on financial television. And they're very interested in reading all the reports, going over stuff. And they actually suggested this to me after I'd already found it and typed the report just a month ago. They said, have you heard of such and such project? And I'm like, dude, that's our guy. That's our one. So this is a GameFi late listing. And we've got another one that's not listed yet. So this is how you do gem hunting. You go to this website, and what we're looking for right now is gems that are not on the exchanges. This way we can get the maximum upside. And so we're going to find GameFi. You can also do funds and investors, right? Like you could do Polychain Capital, Coinbase. Find all of these ones. And right now, Coinbase is hot, Binance is not because of SEC regulation. So we're looking for category, GameFi, right there, apply. So now we have a list of every single GameFi project that's about to come up. And we can do, here we go, from rich to poor. So they're all listed right here. And I've already gone through all of these. And this will take you 60 hours to do it correctly. Combing through these, reading the white papers, checking the tokenomics, checking the GitHub page, seeing who the team is, doing the basics of the 24-point checklist. I've combed through all of these. And one that I saw that looks extremely fun is this guy right here. Boss Fighter. The reason why Boss Fighter never made it to the 24-point checklist is the reason why it's not one of the top performing ones is, and it got beat out by our gem, is because the gem has an enormous connection to the Apple Play Store. Like, these team members used to work for Apple. They've won awards for other projects that they sold on Apple. So this gem is going to be sick. Now, this is a cool game because you get to either be that giant robot in the middle fighting everybody, and then you get to collect up their special items as you take them out, or you get to be the guys. So obviously there's a huge ecosystem and a social aspect. It's a lot like that Star Wars game, which is cool. And little did people know that Caspa had a guy who built Far Cry on the board, but they took him down. He's still involved with the project. He's just not on the board of advisors anymore. So they're talking about Far Cry, which is a really fun game. It is absolutely not a bad thing to be a Caspa maxi. So for a while, we were 100% Caspa. It wasn't until rate cut cycle approaches that we started diversifying. Now, here's the thing. Had the FOMC went up and sang a different tune, instead of cutting 50 basis points, they decided, well, we're actually only going to cut 25 and we're not going to do any more cuts. There is no rate cut cycle. There is no bull market. There is no AI. They could have done this. This is within their power. We would have had what is known as a blow off top scenario. So instead of a huge distribution phase, there would just be a big run up and that's it, like back here. This is not just the popularity of crypto. This is also monetary policy that caused that. So there would have been more of just a peak and then that's it, not a distribution phase like we saw in the last market. This is really healthy and this is all connected to here. This is the distribution phase, hands on. So very cool. We had a guy that stepped up and joined the group 60 days ago, 75 days ago, and he says, Jesse, I've got 2 sharks of Caspa. I've got like 2 million Caspa. I've got $50,000. I want to get something else. What are we going to do? Right when the Fed had signaled we're going to do the rate cuts, this is go launch for DeFi. Because they're now saying, yes, there will be a bull market. There will be a distribution phase, which means DeFi is on. So we got this guy into a side bag. Depending on how much you can save each month, once you're getting below 10%, 5%, 3%, like for me, I can't save enough to add to my Caspa position. It won't add up to anything. Even if I'd only bought Caspa for 6 months, it will be like 10, 15% more because we got in early and kept buying, leverage trading to add in everything. Therefore, it makes sense to diversify. But when you diversify, don't go wide. Don't get one of these 20 baggers. Focus it in as Alex Becker says, and know your sectors. So what we do, we don't follow Alex's instructions. We do more of a time distribution, starting with layer ones, as they're going to beef on the most market cap earliest. We started with layer ones back here. And so for everybody, somebody made a great comment the other day. They're like, dude, I came in late. I'm super jealous of all you guys. I can't wait till 2030 because I'm going to own it then. You know, they just came in now. They're like, they missed some of the upside. Right here, it was May 3rd. The FOMC raised the rates, not cut like they just did today. They raised it. So this is super bearish. Everybody on YouTube, from altcoin daily to crypto banter, they were saying that this was going to kickstart the altcoin rally. We knew no way. We shorted AVAX, massive bloodbath. But look at what happened with Caspa. And this is showing a connection to the bond market. So when everything kicks off, as the FOMC is putting cash in the hands of the investment bankers, is showing where they're going to go. And they're going to go right into Caspa. So it's got a lot of upside up and coming for it. Because the rate cut cycle has now been initiated, depending on how large your bag is, you can start getting into other sectors. So we started with layer ones, and then we move into DeFi and AI, which is what we just did. We're starting to get into real world assets. Like this one went on radar back here. Got a trading plan as it's breaking out from this broadening wedge. This has a 90% chance to break to the upside. And next up, we're getting into GameFi and ZK rollups, which are the latest blooming sections. Because when we buy something, in a lot of these other groups, they're going to be like, oh yeah, buy something and then just sit there and hold it. We're getting the best swing trades over the past 30 to 90 days because we utilize this quantitative easing insight, knowing what the investment bankers are going to do so we can trade hand in hand with them. This is going to pay huge in the bull market, and it also gives us instant gains, which is what you want to see when you put your money on the table. You want to see instant upside. So depending on how much capital you can put together too, maybe you just want to get this GameFi project that's not even listed yet. That could be cool. Oh yeah, dude, the KII has been putting it down for Caspa. If you guys aren't aware and you haven't sent your message, if you own over 100,000 Caspa, you basically got to do this. You can find this right on the Jesse AI Twitter. We've got the post from the KII. They want us to, and are suggesting that we message this guy from Coinbase and Coinbase themselves. And they go into this huge detail about this letter that we sent. We covered this in the last video, where they're like, dude, we want to get on Coinbase, let us in. And now with this regulation switch, ultimately Gary Gensler, we'll call it tradition, says that he will resign because as a new administration comes in, the head of the SEC will bounce out. And so now they were about to kick Gary Gensler out. He was done. It was a wrap. And then what happened was Biden vetoed the bill. He vetoed the bill to stop Gary Gensler. Can you imagine that? Because they started this executive order on ensuring this is the Gary Gensler playbook. Now, he was supposed to go after degen projects, but he went after layer ones.
Good guess, but wrong.
Actually, it was on August 1st, Caspa was destroying absolutely everything. So that is 90 days ago, 100 days ago, which in the world of crypto isn't that much. Here's what is going on, and also shows some underlying value in Caspa. This isn't the first time that the altcoins have ripped and left Caspa behind. The last time this happened was right here, February to April. Looking at Caspa, February to April right here. So Caspa was dumping from February to April, and the altcoins were ripping. Now, and then the altcoins had this massive sell-off, and we know why this sell-off took place. Because the FOMC has delayed their rate cut. While this dump was happening from May to September, Caspa was ripping from May to August. So right around here, from June to August, you were a genius if you had bought Caspa. It was like the 7th highest performing project for the past 365 days back here. And what the leading issue is, and why we were able to project this downside, because unlike all of social media, we actually knew this was going to happen inside our VIP group. We have a slew of posts going over why this is going to happen to the downside, and also shows insight into how important these AI tools are. Because an everyday person may have difficulty thinking through all their bias and all the moving parts about what causes this downside. And one of the largest factors that's caused this sell-off that we timed to the day, to the dollar, we actually shorted it. We shorted Caspa. Guys had a 10x leverage trade short on Caspa. Like blah. It's because of those meme coins. So the only use of the project right now is for minting of meme coins. Minting actually just means you're giving it to the team so they can sell it. And they have expenses. They have marketing budget. They had to pay for everybody to help out and build the coin. They owe money, and they are robotically selling the Caspa on the spot. So once this happened, that was the peak. Oh, now we're doing meme coins, and now we're dumping ferociously. There's the gamma squeeze. How many of us think that it's completely insane that Binance is suddenly doing leverage trades on Caspa back here? Right? So we did the 10x call out here, and then Binance, they're like, yeah, you can now leverage trade Caspa, causing a gamma squeeze to the upside. This, in my opinion, because Marathon Digital started mining right here, these guys have an investment in Caspa. As we know, the guys who own Marathon Digital, these are some massive power players. It's BlackRock. It's Jane Street. These are the guys. They run the show. BlackRock owns 15% of this. Marathon Digital mining Caspa, Jane Street, huge VC, very important. They're protecting their investment, and they have their pulse on Caspa right now because it's going to be enormous in the future as the KII kicks it up. One of the reasons why the upside isn't taking place for Caspa on top of this selling is because they don't have smart contracts yet. These guys are going to bet on sure things, the investment bankers.
I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things.
So the KII is right now actively, they have two different teams on the table ready to connect Caspa to the Ethereum virtual machine. Now, for everybody who's an OG of Caspa and has studied it deeply, they already know, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense because we voted on connecting it to the native thing, the native smart contracts first. For everybody who's more new to Caspa, so these smart contracts, this is what allows more complex equations, like hosting a video game on chain. As we know with regular crypto technology, it's like an accounting, right? It's keeping track of numbers and data. Smart contracts allow for bigger gigabyte transactions to be kept and stored on chains. Smart contracts allows this. So there's two ways to facilitate it. Natively on chain, which Jonathan Saplinsky is building and developing. This guy is renowned in the computer world, so it's going to be a thing of beauty. And you can just plug it into the Ethereum virtual machine and it's good to go. Solana originally did native smart contracts last bull market, but a lot of their upside is contributed to the fact that they just hooked up to the Ethereum virtual machine right before everything broke to the upside. These teams understand what we're talking about with quantitative easing, and they're going to align like the Kraken listing, the Crescendo 10 BPS, and this Ethereum virtual machine smart contract. They're going to align this when monetary policies in its favor to ensure the most upside. And this is looking like Q1 2025. The FOMC has a full point to take off in 2025. It'll be best for us as traders if they do it more early. In order to get 100x coin, we really want to get involved with new listings because then they have less exposure to markets. They have less gains already capped in, right? Like if we're looking at Solana today, it's already done a 7x and 8x with another 10 to 15 to go. It's 100x if we were around earlier loading the bags. This is why we focus in on new listings, and we have two projects that aren't even listing in 24-point reports. You can start to get into utilizing the timing, the most basic way to do it. And one of the mistakes that traders will often make is they try to outsmart themselves. Just by building, just by acknowledging what's going on with the sectors of the bull market and building our bag accordingly, for one, knowing when the low is in and buying. Here's a big mistake everybody made was they bought here in May. Let's say that you're like an ICP investor and you made the mistake of not understanding quantitative easing and you bought in May. You got problems because you're basically at the same price point you were in May. So you're getting in around $5-6. Now you're at $7. Had you understood Satoshi's secret and how this plays part of it, you could have gotten a much better deal, loaded your bags on the low. Let's say that you own Bitcoin. Bitcoin, as the bull market finally takes place and kicks off, gets up to 150,000, 200,000. Once it's at those levels late this fall, Bitcoin doesn't really have the distribution phase because it doesn't require capital inflow for the teams to build on it. It just rockets and then it hangs around. Some of it gets pulled into the altcoin market. Taking profit in Bitcoin and then reinvesting this into GameFi projects, that's a go. But the way that you have the equation actually set up in AI and DeFi bags, I mean, these could peak before GameFi, but it's all roughly around because it's the exact use case that's causing them to rocket. Once the bull run takes place, the face of crypto is going to completely change. Most people don't realize how absolutely early we are right now. Once Bitcoin's at 150,000, 200,000, everyone's going to be singing a different tune. And this is when the teams start to come in and they start coming up with zany new projects. Last cycle, it was fueled around greed. A majority of them were based in Ponzi-nomics, straight up Ponzi NFT staking. Alex Becker actually covers that in detail in his videos, as we do as well. But there's now regulation in place to help prevent that. Looking forward to the projects that are coming out, it looks like we're going to get a lot more in SoFi. Looking through these IDO and ICOs, getting out of GameFi and just doing all of them, you'll notice there's this underlying narrative for social media. SoFi. Mask was a project that was hyped up that it was going to be connecting with Twitter. Let's look at the past rockets over the past 300 days, because we have one here with a star next to it. Inspect. Projects like this, layer 2 built for Twitter. Huge. What you're describing in this formula, it can be done, but it's much better to simplify it. Don't try to overcomplicate your trading and make it too in and out. Don't try to make more trades. Try to just keep it simple. There's plenty of gains to be made, and keep your expectations realistic. But we have still so much more to improve, as opposed to if we buy projects that aren't geared up for investment bankers, our money's just sitting in there. That's not good. Or even worse, people who bought GameFi projects 400 days ago. That was just wrong. So we've done a detailed analysis on Well and that entire sector with DeFi. These lending and borrowing platforms, the massive monster Aave from last cycle did 7 billion. The majority of the stronger ones did 2 billion. Now we got to go ahead and factor in monetary M2, how much money's actually been printed. There's more cash floating around now than there was 4 years ago, which means that we're going to see more upside in these DeFi projects, which act as an ETF of crypto within themselves. DeFi is a great go-to position, whether it's Moonwell, Maple, or we have some other DeFi projects that are new listings that we're looking at inside the group right now that are very similar to Well in some aspects. Calculating in quantitative easing, 3 billion, very easy to achieve. With popularity of crypto, that's got to be good for another 50 cents or 50% as well. 3 to 5 billion market cap. Easy. This is low end, low end. In the scenario where Trump gets what he wants, suddenly Boeing fires a bunch of workers, they're somehow able to engineer. This would be awesome. All of a sudden, everybody starts getting fired, right? Jobs get wrecked. This for us is epic. Because now the Fed's got to stimulate the economy. So we're just hoping for something like that. And this will cause more upside. And you can actually do accounting for it. The more of this money, so this is the Fed buying back the bonds putting money on the street. It's easier to correlate with price with this, the 1 year. This is showing how big DeFi is going to get, how much money they're putting on the street. Easy 10, 15, 20x from here. Easy. Yes, Moonwell hitting $1, very, very achievable. Yeah. It's these flat, these round numbers that are so sticky, and traders make tons of mistakes around them. I've got a 4-pick bag, and 3 of those picks were stuck at the number 10. Caspa, Moonwell, and Spectral. They're all at 10, whether it's $10 or 10 cents. The only pick I had that was not at 10 was DEAI, but it's pretty close. If that had gone all the way up to $1, it would be like almost surreal. In order to get the accurate price projection for Caspa, we've got to take a look at some historic figures, and $11 it sounds completely insane, like a moon boy prediction. It's much more grounded in reality than people think. And I'm going to show you how this works out with monetary policy and everything. So we're looking at Ripple, BNB, Cardano, even Litecoin, which is one of the low end. So as Bitcoin hits its peak, this is just all the peaks right here. It's anywhere between 2% and 10% of Bitcoin market cap. This is how much these altcoins get. So as the FOMC is buying back their own bonds, putting cash monopoly money in the hands of BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and Jane Street, and these guys are going out and reinvesting it as the interest rate is lower and these businesses are building, the economy's booming, people are investing. This cash is going directly into these altcoins. So Bitcoin at 150,000, that's 3 trillion all day with ease. If you get 10% of 3 trillion, you're at 300 billion. 5% of 3 trillion is 150 billion. 2% of 3 trillion is 60 billion. And to detail this even further beyond monetary policy, which is the basis of the model and equation, smart contracts, this is huge. The KII's development, this is huge. Tier 1 exchanges, these are all very important factors. And it looks like the new administration is getting ready to go hard. They campaigned on crypto. Now, whether they're going to follow through with that or not, we'll have to see. But things are gearing up for the most monstrous bull run of all times. All we need is some bad jobs data, and then the Fed will get more aggressive. More aggressive on stimulating the economy and putting money on the street. Bringing this number down and crypto and risk on assets up. Super good stuff. So yeah, sniffing around on YouTube, This is a great spot to get leads into research. When you're ready to take your game to the next level, there is nobody online. There is no one online that's been getting the gains we've been getting inside our group. With our swing trade plans, nobody recognized that Caspa was going to rip to the downside. Inside of VIP, you have the whole Moonwell collection, all our AI and altcoin trading plans. And here's the key. We don't just do naked technical analysis. We tie everything together with monetary policy, classic patterns, the cup and handle, very common right now. We all know crypto kind of moves in tandem with Bitcoin. When Bitcoin's going up, all of crypto goes up. This creates for when you're seeing one cup and handle, like on Moonwell, there's a bunch of cup and handles all around different charts, depending on how bullish the project is. Like look at DEAI, looks almost very similar. So that's something to watch out for right now is the cup and handle, because they're on multiple different charts and these have extremely high yields. We've got this watch list of projects that were under 100 million market cap. We picked 8 total. 6 of them were in the top 100 off the last FOMC meeting. They're all gems. One of them, Maple. Another one, Moonwell. And we're constantly adding and tweaking that out. So this is the study group that you want to be in. We have the proven results, videos on how to do the repeating trendline system. We haven't even had time to touch base on technical analysis in this one. And here's the fundamentals. This is where you really get into the research, how you end up finding Moonwell in the first place. You got to get your hands on a 24-point checklist, because you got to start reading and going through everything in detail, combing over every fine point. And it's very redundant to do this. Reading white papers, not exactly something that you want to do on a Friday night. But when you pair it with artificial intelligence, it goes way faster. It's much better. And you'll also get better results as AI can think independently, and it acts as a web skimming tool, much better than Google. And we have 7 24-point reports already fleshed out. So Alex Becker was saying in this video, become a master in this sector of AI and you will do good this bull run. We got 24-point reports on Desync, Spectral, DEAI, Blender, which made it through all the vetting. And then when we pulled out the 24-point checklist, we found the hidden red flag. The team had done such a good job, it fooled us at first until we got the written system out. We finished the report anyway, and we just put a no buy on it, giving it an example of how you can find sketchy projects. We've got Aether, which is the biggest hash power monster, the biggest DPIN project on the face of the earth. And we've got 2 projects. One of them is going to be listing soon. It's the leading GameFi, and the other one is a leading Oracle, done by Polychain Capital. As you know, Meryl, we do post about Pal AI along with Destra. Those are our only 2 Alex Becker projects that we verified as good. We've been trying to catch pullbacks on Pal for quite some time. So it's definitely something on our radar. And just recently it has broken to the upside. Yeah, we're always posting about this and the technical analysis. Originally, this double top here had cued us that there was going to be massive downside even before the Bank of Japan carry trade. So this is something that we watch and has just started to get some upside. It also ripped last FOMC meeting and then sold off. About Caspa. For one, Caspa has this protection of the Binance gamma squeeze. This is exactly what they did on Bitcoin. First, they buy their seed funding, and then BlackRock and these guys open up futures on Coinbase. This is the exact opposite of a short squeeze. Now everybody's buying, and the market makers are rebalancing every 24 hours, buying more to settle your long trades, your long futures. This causes Bitcoin to rocket up, thus protecting BlackRock's seed investment. And in my opinion, that's what the Binance futures are all about back here. Therefore, giving us a hard wall protection at 10 cents. Now, during this last downtrend, we got everybody in cold storage at 11.5, and then we leverage trade 12.25 and 13.3, 10x and 7x. This one won't be ready to break out until we pass this gravitational field, acting as prior resistance here and here. So it's got some time with lateral sideways movement before the next breakout's going to take place. Q1 of 2025 until we see significant price upside. Starting to regain the y-axis here, but not being able to hold it. This was prior support along the previous cup and handle. It originated here. This is the repeating trendline system. Because crypto has such a strict halving and emission schedule, the trend lines repeat themselves over and over again, not just on Caspa, on everything. And as you can see, like that trend line repeats itself up on the top. This rabbit hole goes way deeper. And this x-axis trend line that you can see here, it's in black. Here it's in white and gold. The gold is gravitational field, and now here again it is. This is how we knew it would stop directly at 18 cents, just from placing it on the point. So, of course, inside of the VIP, we have videos explaining how to utilize these and set these up on multiple charts, not just Caspa. So it can go on until January. As you can see right here, yeah, January, we're still above 10 cents, but we're inside the gravitational field. So, I mean, it can go on for a while. Direct connection to both monetary policy and on-chain activity. Super exciting day. And of course, we have our projections inside VIP for what we think will happen with this rate cut cycle. I'll give you a hint. We think that it's going to be a bearish FOMC meeting because the 25 BPS was already priced in. There are select assets that can continue to upside. There are other select assets that will have downside projected. So very important time to load up the bag. If you missed the upside from the last FOMC, this can be your second chance to get in. And eventually everything's just going to start ripping super strong. So very important times right now. Thanks for checking out this video, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.